Kelly Clarkson once said,
Ignorance is bliss.
"But what happens when ignorance becomes deadly?"
I saw it happen. She cut herself open. There was blood everywhere. It's not just a few stitches.
Please don't get hysterical.
Join my co-host BP, Coop and I as we analyse Don't Worry Darling, the 2022 American psychological thriller film directed by Olivia Wilde and starring Miss Flo and that queer beta from One Direction, Zayn whatever his name is, as an idyllic couple in an idyllic company town where Harry Styles' wife begins to suspect a sinister secret is being kept from its residents by the man who runs it. It's time to take a deep dive into the misfire that could have been a huge victory for Miss Wilde, but instead may have been best put to sleep. You're watching the Complete Guide to Horror Movies podcast. Welcome back, fans, friends, and dreamers. Now, there's been a huge surge in female directors and female-led films, and honestly, about time. We love women, especially those who bring a fresh take to storytelling and a fresh take to the film industry. Don't Worry Darling was picked by my co-host BP, as he enjoyed this horror-tinged drama, and naturally Coop and I had to look at it ourselves. I mean, is it good? I mean, BP did also choose Rest Stop, so all jokes aside, this movie does have strong references to The Stepford Wives and The Twilight Zone, and this gem of a movie actually faced many notorious production issues, including feuds between Olivia Wilde and Florence Pugh, Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles, Olivia Wilde versus everyone it seems, and there was also the controversial original casting of Shia LaBeouf. Remember that from Even Stevens back in like the early 2000s on the Disney Channel? How does he still get acting roles? I don't understand. He is shown to be a notorious abuser. He has a whole history of abuse, and he still gets acting roles. What the Just do it. More like, stop hitting women, idiot. Anyway, let's get into it and check out this underseen gem of a movie. My overall thoughts for this movie is that I did like it, but as someone who's seen every episode of the 50s version of The Twilight Zone, to the 80s Twilight Zone, the 2002 and 2019 Jordan Peele reboot, this feels like a meh, I don't know, underbaked, just, I'm not really sure why there was a bidding war for this movie. I feel like we've seen this movie 1,000 times before. Does it make it less entertaining? No, I still had a good time watching it, but yeah, it also reminds me specifically of an episode of American Dad, which I'll talk about in least favorite parts.
Stop that! You're white.
I just seen it with a mate. I saw it at the movies when it come out, and I didn't really know what to expect going into it. I'm not really a Harry Styles fan, so I guess it was more Olivia Wilde at that point because she'd done like Midsummer, was why I was sort of attracted to it. Look, I've seen it quite a few times, and I was sort of controversially like, I don't know if these guys are going to like it, but I come out sort of feeling good about it. It definitely feels like there's been some background behind the scenes changes in this that I think have affected the final product. But I guess like visually, the sound, like it's top tier, and it's a bit weird because the poster in that don't really imply any sort of horror, and like there are some scenes like in my one that bring it up, which is actually pretty full on.
I think, yeah, as we've mentioned, it is very reminiscent of Twilight Zone in particular, Black Mirror, of course. I feel like I've seen similar ideas like this done before.
Yep.
So it didn't, like, the big twist didn't necessarily shock me, but I did think that it was like really well made. A lot of the cinematography choices were quite good. Some of the sort of flashback, sort of PTSD moments where she's hearing the song from her real life, and then interwoven with some of those creepy dance scenes as well, I thought was really well done.
Yep.
I like the way that they sort of built on the suspense really subtly. I thought was really good, and I thought the performance of pretty much everyone was quite good. I mean, Florence Pugh, Midsummer, she's a legend. We know she's awesome. I thought Chris Pine did a real good job. He was really quite creepy and imposing in this movie, made for some uncomfortable moments in a good way, which I really enjoyed. Gonna chuck a Justin here. Color grading was really good. It was a very bright, beautiful movie. to watch. The way
Yeah.
that they sort of created this world, even though it was set in a desert, it was still really bright and nice, and sort of it gives you that illusion of happiness, but it's also at the same time very clean and clinical. It like everything's kind of perfect. The soundtrack in this is amazing. All the old 50s, 60s tunes and all of that is great. It just adds that whole feel to it. Kind of my partner said, kind of like Stepford Wives approach to that. And sort of when you get to the reveal, you can kind of see why. Was sort of that, I guess, in a sense, kind of misogynistic sort of dystopia of creating, the perfect life.
Yep.
And having sort of the submissive wives that are just, stay at home, basically permanently trapped in there and not realizing it. And the way they built to that was quite good. But like I said, I have seen this before. It's an idea that's sort of probably a bit too wet, like maybe a little bit overdone. But like they did a good job. It's still an enjoyable movie. And shout out to Harry Styles. I've never seen him act in anything. All I know about him is I've heard some of his solo stuff. And obviously, One Direction and that. Not really my thing. But I thought he did a really good job in this. I'd be interested to see him act in more movies. He knocked it out of the park, I thought, playing that character. Yeah.
I gave this to you! I gave you all of this, Alice!
To your point, Coop, about Harry Styles, it is actually one of my favorite parts of this movie, which is, Harry Styles, his media image when it comes to his music and everything is very positive, very uplifting. He's often seen as like the nice, timid, quiet person, if you like. Whereas in this movie, I felt that they cast him for that reason, to try and fool the audience into thinking that he's not so much of a bad guy. But as we come to realize in this movie, there's a lot of conflict there. I want to say for my favorite parts of this, I do want to spotlight as well Florence. I think that she's a fantastic actress. We already touched on Midsummer. I think she really brings that level of believability to this, especially with her acting range. Like at the start, I do feel that she's happy when she's just mingling with the other wives. But then once that conflict comes in with the character of Margaret, it's when things start to turn for her. And I believe that it's actually happening in real time, not she's like, oh shit, I have to memorize this line 5 minutes beforehand, like a lot of other horror movies. I think the direction of this movie is actually really good too. Olivia Wilde does a fantastic job. I know that there's a lot of negative press about her and everything, especially with conflict, but putting that aside, this movie is fantastic.
No one in all of human history has ever said that.
There's a lot of beautiful shots. One shot I really like is the cars in the desert, all, coming out from the camera and driving. Music. Coop, you touched on this. I don't think I've watched a horror movie or thriller movie with so much music in predominantly a lot of the scenes. It's not a bad thing. One song would finish, another song would start, and it suits the mood of what's happening. But it's interesting because sometimes we talk about like no music is better than having music, or in this movie I think it fits really well with what's happening. Those like dreamlike sequences with the, dare I call them, burlesque looking sort of women, the dancers. I loved that sort of the black and white, the legs in the air, just that reoccurring theme. There's this section where you've got Florence Pugh, I think sort of near the end of the film, where it's like we work, we sleep. It's like sort of like the memory, the chanting in the face, and she's cleaning the window, she's vacuuming the floor. I think those scenes are really good. Dita Von Teese, like can't complain. That was unexpected. When I first saw that, I was like, holy shit, it's Dita Von Teese. That's very odd that she's attached to this film, but makes sense given what she does. The scene behind me caught me off guard even when I first watched it. I saw something happening and I was like, holy shit, they're going for it. The cling wrap scene.
Yes.
That was pretty full on as well.
Some of the scenes that you've already mentioned, BP, are standouts to me as well. Where being stuck to the glass, the wrapping their head in the cling film.
Yep.
I thought the scene where she's on the trolley and the plane crashes and where she's going up to headquarters, or well, the way out of the simulation. I thought that was filmed really well.
Stop! That plane, it just crashed.
Are you sure?
Yes. You need to drive out there. It just crashed. I can show you where it is.
Drive. No, I don't go that way.
What?
Like the creepy factor was sort of meant to be in the nicer moments, if that makes sense. Like just some of like the way they interact with each other and how it feels kind of like forced, fake niceties, all that kind of thing, but they all feel like they have to be demure, I guess. So I thought that was really good. I enjoyed the slow burn.
I have never seen anyone spend so much money to make a house look this tacky. I've honestly seen more tasteful decor at a Sizzler.
Although I saw it coming, I thought they did a good job sort of with the climax of the movie and her escaping the simulation. And, essentially, it felt like the simulation was starting to fall apart as she was escaping, and like all the women realizing this isn't quite right.
Go back inside, Alice, sweetheart. Stop. Where is Jack? What is she doing? Jack!
When it comes to Lee's favorite parts, I mean, we've all mentioned the story. I do want to give a bit of a different take for my least favorite parts, which actually happens to be the conflicts on set and the subsequent marketing for this movie. In recent years, there's been so many different times where it'll be like It Ends With Us with Blake Lively, where it's all this commotion and everything about how the actresses present themselves during interviews, or it'll be regarding conflicts arrived on set. Like It Ends With Us, it has Blake Lively and the director, I forget his name. For this movie, it was Olivia Wilde, the director, versus Florence Pugh, the actress. And I just think it detracts from the movie itself, because I don't necessarily want to know about these conflicts or know about like any negative experiences behind the scenes per se. Because then if I go into a movie and watch this, that's what I'm going to be looking for. So when I did watch Don't Worry, Darling, because of all the allegations where it's like, Pugh and Wilde had a screamy match on set, according to Vulture magazine, or 40 members of the film's crew issued a statement saying that no, none of this happened. There was no unprofessional behavior. I'm looking for that unprofessional behavior, whether it's like tension between the characters that Olivia Wilde and Florence Pugh play. Likewise, the casting of Shia LaBeouf, I just don't understand it. And then I also further don't understand how so it was reported in 2021 that Olivia Wilde had fired Shia for poor behavior and clashing with cast and crew. Shia denied these claims, saying that he quit the film despite Olivia Wilde's efforts to keep him on board. He then provided Variety magazine with leaked text and a video recording from Olivia Wilde addressed to him, in which she does say,
Shia, I just went riding my horse, very sweaty, but I wanted to reach out because I feel like I'm not ready to give up on this yet, and I too am heartbroken, and I want to figure this out. And I think this might be a bit of a wake-up call for Miss Flo, and I want to know if you're open to giving this a shot with me, with us. If she really commits, if she really puts her mind and heart into it at this point, and if you guys can make peace, and I respect your point of view, I respect hers, but if you guys can do it, what do you think? Is there hope? Is there hope? Will you let me know?
And it's just like, you're willing to throw your lead actress under the bus to support an abuser. And like, I get, to an extent, I get that 2021, 2022, not every allegation about Shia LaBeouf was made public. It's only been in the last 2 years that we've got FKA Twigs account, but there was still a lot of other stories that had come out prior, even during the production of Lars von Trier's Nymphomaniac. So why would you hire a liability like Shia LaBeouf when there's plenty of other male actors out there? It's just disappointing to see that it's that industry of like protecting like abusers and all that shit. So to me, that does sour the movie. I'll leave it at that. BP, what were your least favorite parts of Don't Worry, Darling?
There's some obvious pacing issues here and there. You talk about the first half an hour, not a lot does happen. It starts off a bit weird as well. It's just a bit of like a celebration moment off the bat. It takes, like I said, like with Cooper, it's a bit of a slow burn, maybe a bit slower than usual for most horror fans. And sort of, like you said, after half an hour, you got bored. I did think that. And like when I watch it again, I kind of like hope something hurries up. So there's that pacing issue there. Runtime, as usual, it's a little bit long. I think it could have been pulled back. Some scenes are a little long for my liking, particularly the scene at dinner, and it was like Harry Styles dancing. That whole scene went for quite a while in general. There were a couple scenes in general that just went for a while, which I thought could have been tapered back a bit. And then I sort of ultimately put missing that extra, what do you call it? Panache? Is that what you call it?
Pizzazz.
Pizzazz. There you go, pizzazz. Yeah. Missing that extra pizzazz, I think to ultimately like put the cherry on the cake with this one. I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, I think it probably had a lot going against it with the allegations as well, which can be a good thing and a bad thing, and in the way that it drives hype for the movie to people go and see it. But like you said, you are watching it, particularly the scenes with Olivia Wilde and Florence Pugh, where they're sitting on the sun lounges and they're talking to each other, and I'm wondering, like, when it cut, did something happen? You know?
Yeah.
I think there was some issues with Chris Pine as well with this, a bit of like tension on set. So when he was in scenes, I thought, oh, I wonder if, you know, things happen with that.
Coop, what were your least favorite parts?
Nick Kroll.
Yeah.
I forgot about Big Mouth Guy.
I don't think I've ever watched a movie where his involvement has ever improved it. But that's just me. I feel like more could be. I wish a bit more was shown in sort of the cracking of the fantasy. I feel like there could be so much more done with that, and it would have added so much more tension to the movie. Like, I think they did an all right job, but like it was a bit too slow in sections, and then when things did start popping off, it was maybe a bit too sudden. Like, there just needed to be a little bit more nuance there. As we've all touched on, the stories, it's a bit worn out. We've seen it before. And they could have done more to add to that story. Even this idea, they could have added more to it to make it feel fresher than what it was, which was a bit of a shame. Yeah, but beyond that, not really. I'd be nitpicking it at this point. It is a good looking movie. But yeah, Nick Kroll, build on that suspense a little bit more, and maybe do more to flesh out this story and make it newer and not just sort of rehashing old ideas we've all seen in Twilight Zone before.
I know on Reddit there is a script that has leaked that apparently is different to the final product, but I haven't read it. But going off what people said, it was a lot better script than what was shown in the film. So I'm not sure where that's come from, if it came from after the film or before, or this is when all this stuff happened behind the scenes. I think there's more behind the scenes than what was let on that affected the final product with this film as well. I think, yeah. I don't know if Shia had filmed something for some bits and then it was just cut and then he just left I don't know, something just sounds a bit more fishy with what went on.
I forgot to mention, so there's an episode of American Dad where the whole plot is all the family, the Smith family, they all go on like the best perfect vacations and everything. But it emerges up what happens is Stan, the father, just puts them all in, what do you call it, like gel vats or something. And they're just hallucinating that they're on the perfect vacation and everything. And that's what this movie reminded me of, just with the simulation aspect. I'm like, it was all fake, but like they're programmed and it's all non-consensual and everything. And then American Dad follows that same thing. And then I was like, hold on, if that's the first thing that comes to mind, how many other stories are there about simulations and all that stuff? There's a fuck ton of them.
No, Roger, why are we in these things?
Oh, the goo, yeah. Well, every year Stan checks out these artificial memory chambers from the CIA, plops you suckers in, and then programs a great vacay. This year's Maui, sweet. Did you get me one of those hang loose t-shirts? See, because you didn't really go.
But if we're in here, where's Stan?
Come on, Georgetown! Hoy yes! Hoy yes!
One thing I would ask both of you, which I was sort of baffled, would you call this a horror, or would you call it a thriller, or would you call it a sci-fi? How would you go about it. I mean, the scene behind me gets horror very quickly, but then other scenes feel very thriller and just sci-fi.
I'd probably say more of a thriller. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
No.
We love a good thriller.
Yeah.
I not really horror. I guess the horror aspect of it is just, I guess, the big reveal and that they're all essentially slaves and all that kind of thing. There is maybe the cling wrap scene and the scene in the mirror where she sees Margaret, is it? Is probably the only thing about it that would sort of be like a nod to horror. But as far as like more of a thriller for sure.
Yeah, agree too. Thriller. There's going to be someone in the comments that's like, actually, it's a spaghetti western. So
yeah, when I was looking at it, I was sort of like, I hope it's. I was worried. Then I sort of watched it and I went, I think there's enough dosage in here to kind of meet the credentials. So
yeah. I mean, you think about it, we, like, the three of us have seen hundreds, if not thousands, of horror movies. The average person probably doesn't watch horror movies at the cinema. I mean, I go and see all the shit ones, like Tarot and Imaginary and all that. Whereas someone who's, like, more, like, you know, just, like, imagine, like, a Harry Styles fan who's like, oh, Harry Styles is in this movie. I love Harry Styles. I'm going to go watch it. They've never seen a horror movie. They don't care for thrillers, blah, blah, blah. This would be terrifying for them. So, yeah, I think it serves its purpose.
That's enough, it's about
me! Ratings and final thoughts. So, I'm going to give this movie 7 out of 10. I do think there are some elements that could be improved, but at the same time, I think this is a very strong, what's the word I'm looking for? Sophomore directorial from Olivia Wilde. I do feel bad for her with all the tumultuous production history. I know that a lot of it is out of her hands, especially when producers and the studios are involved. So I'm not trying to say like this is all Olivia Wilde's fault, but you know, some improvements could have been made in all aspects. BP, what score do you give this movie?
Oh, look, like I said, I've seen it a couple of times and I'm a little biased. I think 7.5. I would go with for this. You know, pacing, runtime, and a bit of the plot issues aside, I think it's a beautiful film. I think the music is top notch. I think the acting is on point. I mean, you get sort of really a mixture of everything. You get a bit of comedy, you get a bit of drama, you get a bit of horror. It's really a thriller. You know, at the main point of it. And I've had a good time, and it's got, for me, it's got decent replay value to come back and watch it again. There's always something new to look at or observe with it. And then, it's little sort of Easter eggs and stuff like that within it as well, and subtle messages. And like I said to both of you, really the overall thing would be it's a slow burn. And I don't think it's a waste of time by the time you get to the ending. Like, yes, it's got some issues here and there, but I think for what they've been able to do, 7.5's a pretty good score for me.
Yeah, that's fair. And Coop, last but not least, what score do you give this movie?
I'm going to give it 6.5 simulations out of 10. Like we mentioned, like it's not really a new idea. I feel like there was so much more potential for this, and it's a shame because most people in this movie deliver a really great performance, and there was some really impressive cinematography in it. But I've seen it before. It's not necessarily anything new, and it just the potential kind of left me wanting a bit.
Yeah, that's fair. Our combined scores are 7 out of 10 for the average, which is great. I think that's fair. I think it's also in line with what other critics were giving this movie too.
I don't think it works that way. Shut up.
At the Complete Guide to Horror podcast, we're about to hit our big double milestone. That's right, we're about to hit our 100th episode and also our 3-year anniversary. And to celebrate, we're giving away our first ever mega physical media prize pack. So what does this include? One lucky winner will receive 56 Blu-rays, 15 DVDs, 4 Funko Pops, and 2 colognes. Everything from 4K new releases like Late Night with the Devil, The Substance, Pearl, the Scream trilogy, and everything to cult classics and fan favourites that we've covered right here on this channel. So how do you enter to win? Simple. Follow us or subscribe to us on any of the platforms. These include YouTube, Spotify, Apple, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Or X, whatever. It's called Twitter, who fucking cares? And like this video on whatever platform you're watching or listening to this on. It's that simple. If you would like extra entries, simply share this episode to your story or comment below what your favourite horror movie is and why. The winner will be drawn on our 100th episode on April 16. Good luck, and thank you for supporting us over the past 3 years. Your support means the world to us. BP and Coop, thank you very much for joining me today to discuss this movie.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Anytime, anytime. Listeners, check out our previous episodes. We've covered everything from Eden Lake to, I was about to say Wolf Creek. We haven't done that one. I was like, what the fuck is Wolf Creek? We've covered everything from the Hostel trilogy all the way through to little gems like Would You Rather. Check out our TikTok and Instagram page. Follow us everywhere. And if you hated this movie,
I gave this to you! I gave you all of this, Alice!